Welcome to episode 47 of Shane Talks 9, October 29th, 1999. First things first, little side note. Just want to give a shout out to my buddy Joel real quick. Hung out with him over the weekend. Um, and he made a comment that really like hit me and stuck with me. And I want to tell him thank you. I want to like publicly tell him how much I appreciated what he said to me. He told me that when he was listening to the last episode, where I breezed through 7 films in one episode, he told me that it reminded him of when he was younger and he used to watch the Ebert and Roper show, and that literally like hit me and meant so much to me. So Joel, I appreciate first of all hanging out with you and spending time with you, but having that conversation and that compliment you gave me, probably the biggest compliment. Like a lot of people have said nice things about the podcast, but like that really just hit me and meant a lot to me. So I appreciate your kind words, man. All right, let's get on to the 3 films we have to talk about this weekend. It is 2 days until Halloween. This would be the perfect time to get a movie from the master of suspense, right? The guy that directed Scream, Scream 2. Next year, he's going to direct Scream 3. Like, this is the perfect weekend to drop a Wes Craven movie, right? I mean, it is. We got a Wes Craven movie, but it is the farthest possible thing from a horror film that you can get. Wes Craven's 1999 offering to us is a movie called Music of the Heart. Here's the history of how we get here. 1995, there was an Academy Award short documentary called Small Wonders. It was about the Harlem School of Music, and Wes Craven took a huge liking to this movie and what it was about. So he was in the middle of making Scream, and when Scream was as successful as it was, Wes Craven ended up signing a 3 picture deal with the Weinsteins. Now, only 2 of those 3 films had to be horror movies or in the like horror genre. So what he did is Wes Craven used that third film with them to convert this Small Wonder short film into a feature-length film. It was originally called 50 Violins, which is kind of a pretty generic title. It had to do with the 50 violins that this teacher had in her possession. Um, Maybe they didn't want to be compared to the 1998 film The Red Violin or like confused with that movie in any way, but for whatever reason, the film was renamed The Music of the Heart to correspond with the Gloria Estefan In Sync song that appears as track number 1 on the soundtrack. So long story short about the plot of the movie, I know this movie's received like some negative connotation like recently and not even recently in the last few years, I guess. A popular storytelling thing in the 90s was what was it's been redubbed now as a white savior film. Essentially it's about movies where a white character comes into underprivileged or lower class places. I think like Dangerous Minds, stuff like that, where it's a white person that comes in and essentially saves the day for the other group of people. I don't know, like it was used a lot for like low income families, urban areas, like minorities, things like that. Like, and unfortunately, it is what it is. The way Hollywood was, I mean, even back as recent as the 90s, white savior stuff was something that was going on. It's been addressed a lot since then. It's prevalent in this movie, but like I said, it is what it is. There's a woman played by Meryl Streep who goes through a divorce. She ends up taking a job as a violin teacher for a school in Harlem. The film then follows her, like inspiring a couple of generations of maybe like I think the movie takes place over like 10 years if I remember right, but like inspiring those kids, and then like as the years go on, the Harlem School Board starts to cut funding for like the arts and education and stuff like that. So the movie kind of shifts at that point to it's more like she's inspiring kids but getting help from the kids that she's already inspired to fight against the school board to try to get more funding for the arts program. And I mean, there's ups, there's downs, there's problems, there's hurdles, there's a lot of things that get in the way of giving them funding. She has to call in some favors from some people, and in the end, it's really just the movie's honestly just about the power of art and how amazing artists can be when artists support each other. As somebody who visits New York City from time to time, and I have a lot of friends that live in New York City and are involved in the like artistic community out there, like every time I get to go hang out and spend time with them, um, and I meet all of their friends and all the people that they're hanging out with, and it's like, friends of friends of friends that are involved in this project, and we're gonna go support so and so's friend who's in this project. And like it's just really awesome and inspiring to see like their groups of friends and how they all just go around and support each other and try to be there for each other and try to help each other. And like, the artistic community is like super powerful. And I think that's something that this film captures really well. So as things go wrong, as there's obstacles in their way, they've got to reach out to friends of friends to, try to help and see like who can provide us with a solution, or at least a path to the solution, for some of the stuff that happens throughout the course of this movie. It's inspirational, despite the fact that I have never had any musical talent whatsoever. I do find myself connecting with quite a few characters in this movie. And I mean, like, this cast is huge. So, like, there's a great, is Meryl Streep, like I said, Aidan Quinn is the other lead in the movie. Um, Angela Bassett, Gloria Estefan, Cloris Leachman, Kieran Culkin's in this movie, J.O. Sanders, and Michael I can't ever say his last name, Angaranio, is in this movie, and that dude's going to be in Almost Famous next year. Like, lastly, Josh Pius is in this film, working with Wes Craven. They're going to reunite next year because Wes Craven directed Josh Pius in Scream 3. I really like this movie a lot. Again, like I said, I am not musically talented in any way. That does not stop or affect me from connecting with a lot of the characters in this movie. Do you probably have to be in the right mood to watch this movie? Yeah, like this isn't something that you're going to be sitting around going, I really want to watch music of the heart. I think I'm in the mood for some, emotional roller coasters right now. But when you are in the mood for it, like this movie hits, it's inspiring. And it's really one of the really good offerings that we had this year in 1999. A few weeks ago, we talked about Spike Jones. Spike Jones had a character in the movie Three Kings. Well, this week we're going to talk about Spike Jones's directorial debut, a film called Being John Malkovich. In the 1990s, Spike Jones was hugely popular as a music video director. Um, Kids, back in the 90s, MTV actually used to show music videos. Music videos were these like short 4 to 5 minute long videos that were put to popular music. Artists would sometimes film extra stuff to go along with their songs. Sometimes directors would just come in and film actors doing stuff. There's all kinds of different things you could do with music videos back in the 80s and 90s, and MTV actually aired them like hours and hours of these videos, these 5 little minute videos played back to back to back to back to back. Unlike nowadays, where MTV is just there to give you 24 hours of reality television programming. But back in the 80s and 90s, music videos were huge. And Spike Jones was one of the biggest like music video directors there was in the mid to late 90s. He directed videos for Weezer, the Beastie Boys, REM, Daft Punk, the Chemical Brothers. And then like the video that probably honestly skyrocketed him to like the top of everything was when he did Fatboy Slim's Praise You video. So in the late 90s, this amazing music video director Spike Jones was married. Well, he was dating at the time, I believe. Later, he got married to Sofia Coppola. Her father is the absolutely famous Francis Ford Coppola. And Francis Ford Coppola passed on a script to Spike Jones and said, I think this is a pretty good script. I think it's right up your alley. And that was the script for Being John Malkovich. A script written by a screenwriter named Charlie Kaufman, whose most of his work I really enjoy. I at least like most of his work, at least a lot of his early stuff. I kind of fell off the Charlie Kaufman bandwagon at one point, but he did a lot of really weird and intellectual stuff early on. He did this was the first thing that he wrote, and then it was followed up by Adaptation, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is absolutely amazing. And then the last one of his that I really enjoyed was Synecdoche, New York. Again, another movie about like New York and putting on a play and being part of a production, like another really great movie, but has nothing to do with 1999 other than the fact his writer had his first movie in 1999. Anyway, Charlie Kaufman writes a lot of really unique and original ideas, and like that's obviously where the plot for Being John Malkovich goes. John Cusack, married to Cameron Diaz, takes a new job. While he's at work, he happens to find across this tiny little door, and in that tiny little door, when he walks through it, it's a portal inside John Malkovich's mind. You literally get to be inside John Malkovich, seeing John Malkovich's life from where John Malkovich is. After like 15 minutes, you get thrown out of the portal and you get dumped on like the New Jersey Turnpike or something like that. So really bizarre and really interesting. But they do some really cool stuff with this throughout the course of the movie. John Malkovich plays himself. Charlie Sheen plays his best friend in the movie, so that makes for a lot of fun and interesting conversations. Catherine Keener, um, Catherine Keener is the other female lead in the movie. She plays a co-worker of John Cusack. Cusack develops a crush on her. She rejects him completely. Once he tries to show her the portal into Malkovich's mind to kind of like win her over. She changes that and takes it as a way that they can make money. So then they start charging people to go inside John Malkovich's head. And then it gets to the point where John Malkovich learns about this, and John Malkovich shows up, and he actually goes inside of his own head. And so, like, a lot of weird and bizarre stuff happens when other people are inside Malkovich's head. There's some sexual encounters that go on while somebody is inside Malkovich's head, and that leads to a very bizarre, weird subplot. I mean, like, I say bizarre, but like it's kind of important to and the resolution of the movie. When Malkovich goes inside of Malkovich's own head, it ends up creating this like paradox thing, where everybody in the world is John Malkovich. So that's pretty bizarre and interesting. And again, this is a really insane, bizarre movie. And like as things get more and more crazy, like with Malkovich, the actual like real antagonist of the movie gets revealed, and then you're like, wait, what is really going on here? Like, what am I really watching? And it's unique and it's original. It's kind of bizarre and insane. And like, I know a lot of times when I do these episodes, my argument is, oh, it's 25 years old. You should have seen this movie by now. But occasionally, and I've done this recently, there is some where I don't want to talk about like specifically the third act of this movie because like if you don't know where it's going, this journey is absolutely bonkers. And then even more interesting once you get there. Like a lot of weird stuff happens in Act Three. A lot of weird resolution-y kind of stuff goes on ish. But like when you really have no idea what you're getting involved in if you don't know what the movie is about. Like, and I would suggest this being one of those movies for people to go into not really knowing it. And like in 1999, like I was really spending a lot of time at Castleton Arts. This was obviously a movie that played at Castleton Arts, being like an art house movie and being very unique and bonkers and original and kind of weird. And like that was kind of what I was really into in 1999. And like, the movie still holds up. Like the movie's still a lot of fun. The movie is still really, really weird, but like I said, it's a fun ride. It's really enjoyable, and it's so unique and original. Like a lot of times it had huge suspension of disbelief. Obviously, this is like the science fiction genre, so like you can't really pick apart some of the like I love Back to the Future, but there's some time travel inconsistencies in there that I just kind of have to push back. So like it's similar with this. Like there's some things that if you really want to sit and break it down, doesn't make sense. But like whatever. Like this movie is just so original and fun. Highly recommend it. I think it's a really good time, and I don't want to ruin Act Three for anybody who hasn't seen this movie yet. So finally, we did get a Wes Craven movie, but it wasn't the Wes Craven movie we wanted. So somebody did release a horror movie this weekend, and it was absolute pure garbage. Like sucks. Like really, really sucks. And I just recently rewatched it. Like in the month of October, I always attempt to at least watch one horror film a day. So last week, my horror film of the day ended up being House on Haunted Hill. Just because I needed to freshen my mind for this, and I needed a horror movie for that day. I mean, I didn't need one. I had plenty of other horror movies I would have rather been watching, but this piss poor remake of the 1959 Vincent Price film of the same name is garbage. Absolute garbage. I will spoil the fuck out of this movie to make sure that you don't watch it because that is how dumb and stupid and ridiculous this movie is. And the problem is the thing that I think that here's the thing. I think the thing that pisses me off the most about this movie is I love the cast. I literally love the cast. I think everybody that's in the main cast of this movie is somebody that I absolutely love and adore and want to enjoy this movie so much. I was watching the opening credits and I'm seeing all the names pop up again, and I'm like, oh, like I forgot that person was in here. Oh yeah, that person's in here. Oh, I love this movie. I'm sorry, I love this cast. And then I learned I still hate this movie because this movie is garbage. It is absolutely terrible. House on a Haunted Hill, 1999. It stars Jeffrey Rush doing his best Vincent Price impersonation, even though the character sucks. Back in August, we talked about him when he was the villain in Mystery Men. He was great in that movie. He is terrible in this one. Famke Janssen, she plays his wife in this film. She is literally just 1 year removed from Rounders, where I absolutely loved her. Tay Diggs, literally last week was in The Best Man. In August, he was in The Wood. In April, he was in Go. Like, Tate Diggs had an amazing 1999. It sucks that this is the last movie he did in 1999 because it's garbage and it's terrible. Ali Larter. Ali Larter back in January was in Varsity Blues. Earlier this month, she was in Drive Me Crazy. And then her 1999 ends on this piece of crap. Bridget Wilson Sampras, just escalating in the movies that she's done. In 95, she did Billy Madison. In 97, she did I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like, then this year, this is what we got from her. Peter Gallagher is in this movie. Peter Gallagher, also at the beginning of this month, was in American Beauty. Like, great actor, like Peter Gallagher a lot. He's garbage in this movie. Absolutely terrible. Finally, SNL cast member Chris Kattan is in this movie. He's like the 1 year removed from Roxbury, like one of the greatest comedies like that. He is garbage in this movie. His character is terrible. The film opens with two kind of I get cameos, I guess. Like they're the opening sequence people that are supposed to, be in a scary situation. That's the musician Lisa Loeb, and then Buffy's Spike. James Marsders himself, like, opened this movie with a scene with Jeffrey Rush. Like, how do you put together such an absolutely amazing cast and then make a movie that sucks so bad? Well, you give them an absolutely terrible piece of shit script. That's how you do it. A script that literally makes no sense whatsoever. So Famke Janssen's character wants to throw a birthday party. So her husband arranges for it to be in like the this home that at one point was a mental asylum. And it doesn't even look like a house. Like it looks like, I don't know, it just doesn't look like a house. But it was apparently a mental asylum on the side of this, mountain or whatever. Later, after the place burned down, they retrofitted it and turned it into a house because that sounds like a great idea. I guess that's the speed of plot for you. So anyway, she wants to throw this birthday party. Um, so like 60 years later, when this party gets booked, her husband doesn't want the people that she wants to show up. So her husband on his computer changes the guest list. He picks five other people to put on the guest list. Well, then we're supposed to be led to believe that the spirits from this house somehow made their way through the internet to his computer to not only did he change the guest list, but then the evil spirits changed the guest list to bring other people to the party. So what happens when all these random people show up at the party where like the wife's like, these aren't the people I told you to invite, and the husband's like, these aren't the people that I tried to screw you over by inviting, and these are, like none of these aren't even close to the 10 people that were ever originally intended to be at this party. And what do they decide to do? Let's just keep throwing the party. Let's not make everybody go home. Let's still do this stupid ass idea. So the idea is if you stay alive through the entire night and you're still alive in the morning, then you get $1 million. And Vincent Price writes out these $5 million checks made out to cash, which is important. And like checks were a thing in the 90s also. But checks made out to cash is important because that will come around at the very end of the movie. So, like, first of all, it doesn't make any sense. Like the husband and the wife don't know any of these people, but they do. So we'll get to that in a second. Like Chris Kattan, his character, who like wasn't even technically supposed to be invited to this party, but he owns the house because his, ancestor or whatever is the one that owned the mental asylum. And so like they stayed in his family, and so he's rich. So I don't even know why the money matters to him at all anyway. But he's trying to get paid, and as soon as he gets paid, he tries to leave. And what do you know? The door closes, everything's locked behind him, everybody's locked inside. Nobody can get out. We're all stuck here all night. Oh no, what are we gonna do? Well, through a bunch of stupidity that goes on, Famke Janssen and Jeffrey Rush spend the entire first half of the movie, the first act of the movie, at least, basically threatening to kill each other and trying to kill each other. Like literally rewatching this movie, I don't understand why these two characters are married. Like, why? What in any possible world were these two characters who spend so much of the movie hating each other and talking shit to each other and doing evil things to each other? Why are they married? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. It also doesn't make sense when all of a sudden, magically, one of the people who the evil spirits supposedly invited turns out to be Famke Janssen's lover. And so, like, they're both there because they want to be able to kill her husband. So they have a whole plot put together on how they're going to do that, and that just is a absolutely insanely stupid subplot, especially when Famke Janssen turns on him and just kills him instead. What? Why? Where? What was the point? He wasn't even like how did the ghost? How did what? So he obviously. Why am I overthinking this absolutely terrible script? It makes absolutely no sense to me. I just hate it so much. Oh, like okay. Sometimes the spirits in this movie can look like real people. At one point, Ali Larter thinks that she's hanging out with Tay Diggs. We find out that it's not Tay Diggs when Tay Diggs walks into the room, and doppelganger Tay Diggs tries to kill her. Like that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Because other times in the movie, the spirits look like the spirits of the dead people that were killed, back when the place burned down 60 years earlier. And then other times, the spirit looks like this black goo monster mess of blah. Like what? Why? What like this black goo is supposed to be like all the tortured, dying souls that were killed there when the place burned down, but like why? Why? I don't know. Have I mentioned how much I hate this movie? Like I literally hate this movie. Have I said anything even possible in the last 5 minutes that like, even comes close to being redeeming for this movie? The plot makes no sense. The ghosts make no sense. The characters are all stupid and do really stupid things, and they all have really like absolutely terrible like story arcs throughout this movie, like why they're there, what they're doing there, why they lied about getting there, like and how they even got there when they were invited by supposedly ghosts and spirits. Like, how does that still make them end up being the ones that show up there? Why? I don't get it. And like, how does Tay Diggs survive this movie? Like, oh, that's right. Tay Diggs survives because at the end, when he's about to get killed by the giant black goo, his way of getting out of being killed is to admit to the black goo, I'm not even so and so's child. I was adopted. And then, that revelation gives the black goo enough of a pause that black goo Chris Kattan can open a door that had just shut behind him, but magically it can be opened again for him to get out. So like, again, does this sound good in any way? Like, because then him and Ali Larter like get out this door and then they're on the top of this building that's like huge and on top of a mountain and super tall, and they literally like you try to throw a joke in there. How are we gonna get down from up here? Well, I don't know. Maybe yeah, kill yourselves because that's how terrible this was being involved in this movie. It. Look, I don't. I know I said not to overthink this movie, but I just need some type of logic going on because okay, and then like the most illogical part of the whole movie, like the envelope that had these five $1 million checks in it is somehow under that door on top of this building when we haven't seen that check since it was like in Vincent Price's pocket, like 400 feet down below, like when he died. How did this magical envelope end up there? Again, why am I overthinking garbage? Why? I don't get it. I should really stop thinking about this movie. You should stop thinking about this movie. You should never watch this movie. This movie is terrible. So we're actually going to talk about this movie. I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about this movie with the Miller brothers soon. And I'm really not looking forward to that because I think if I remember right, the Miller brothers actually like this movie, and I don't know how or why. And I hope they hear my tangent. If they don't, I'll probably have to go on this tangent again on the actual podcast when we talk to the Miller brothers about how terrible House on Haunted Hill is. So that's that. That's this week. I'm sorry to end on such a down note. I promise I'll be back next week. November's got to be a better month, right? Like November's got to start better. I promise I'll have a better attitude next week. I'm sorry for just all the negativity here at the end of this episode.